Email communication. So we have talked about how we can communicate via verbal method. Email is a written method. And for those of you who plan to apply to study abroad, email is the main platform for you to communicate with the college overseas. And email communication skill is super important for those of you who plan to go into communication field. So let's get started. The first and foremost criteria we need when we send an email is having an email account. So having an email account doesn't mean that you can create any kind of email address you like. It's your time to be professional with your email address. So what should you do with your email address? You should include your name, your first name, your last name, whatever, but your name or your nickname is okay too. And many people might have the same name, so it's important that you make some kind of difference so that the email system allow you to finalize your sign up by adding some number, maybe some random number. Let me give you some example. So this is an example. This is my example for you. I include my name and today's day for my email address. And that's the basic. That's a good email address. A bad email address is this: super cool, Superman, cutie pie. These are the email address that is considered very bad, and you will lose point with the admission officer or even your employer. Why? Because they think that you are not serious enough with this position or this school. Um, they will view you as some kind of teenager going through puberty and trying to show off your coolness. And a bad email like this may send you to the blacklist of the school or the employee or the company. So if you haven't got a decent professional email account, my suggestion for you after this webinar is to go and create a professional one so that you can apply to college or apply for a job later on. And just bear in mind that a bad email address may hurt you more than you can imagine. So now we have the email address. We need to send it to someone. Two, you can add any recipient here, but make sure that you don't add too many. If you send an email to 20 or 30 people, the email system may consider it as a spam email and may send it to the junk mailbox. If you want someone to be aware of the situation discussed in the email, you can CC them. CC means carbon copy, and the recipient are those to keep record of the communication in the email, but they are not actively involved in this. And the CC recipient can know who you send this email to. How about BCC? BCC is blind carbon copy. And if you want to send an email to multiple people, but you don't want them to know about each other, you should use this type of email. Why? Because it keeps the privacy. For example, if you want to request for a scholarship from multiple centers or school, it's best that you use BCC so that this center don't know that you send this email to all of the center in the city and they don't see each other email. They keep your information, you keep your information private to that certain center. Next one is subject line. For the subject line, this is the representative of your email. It should be short, it should be concise and informative. It shouldn't raise any flag that the email system consider as spam. So I will give you an example here as a bad subject line and a good subject line. For a good subject line, I would say my student name. If I send this email to my professor, I will include my name, the course number, and a few words about the purpose of my email. And depending on the receiver, you can be flexible with the content of your subject line. But something to bear in mind, do not put on the subject line in cap. Why? Because the email system also consider all cap subject line as spam email, and they will send it to the junk box, and your receiver will not receive your email. Same with urgent and important, symbol and emoji. All of these items in the subject line may make the email system consider as spam email, and they will send it to the junk box. So if you plan to go into communication field and you do pitching email, these are the thing that you need to be aware of, because these are the items that trigger the system to categorize your email as spam. So now we have the heading. Let's go into the body. So after you fill out all the headings up for your email, it's time to write the content. And there are good email content and bad email content. The first part of an email should always be salutation, where you address the receiver of your email. For example, if you send this email to your professor, you will say, "Dear Professor," or "Dear Mr. or Mrs., followed by their last name if you are in America. For Vietnamese student, if you send to your teacher, it's okay to use their first name. If you send an email to someone you know their name, but they are not particularly your teacher or professor, you can just say their full name. To the people that you don't know their name, like admission officer, you can just say "to whom it may concern" or "the admission officer." Do not address this email to an organization. Why? Because even if you send this email to an organization like a company or a university, it is a person who read your email and answer your email. So address the organization is kind of rude to them. So in fact, the ABC University cannot do the job of reading and answering your email. If someone in the school will do the job, so it's best that you address the person. If you don't know the name, just say "the admission officer," "the accounting officer," or "to whom it may concern." It's formal enough and it's addressed the right person. Next one is a brief introduction about yourself. So I have a template here for you. You will say your name, your ID number if you are in the school already, and how you relate it to the receiver of your email. Next one is writing the content. So why you write this content, why you write this email to them. So be straightforward, be informative, be short, and keep the content of your email around 4 to 5 sentence max, depending on the the situation that you are writing this email. You can go over 5 sentences and explain in detail, but in general, you should keep it short. Why? Because the purpose of email is quick communication, so it should be short and quick for the reader to read and answer you. And after saying what you need, you should say thank you for their time and for reading and replying to you and for resolving your concern and let them know that you are expecting their response. Finally, always have a formal ending to your email with a signature. I give you here 2 examples. One of the example is good email and the other example is a bad email. For the good one, the left one is a good email example. Let me do a quick analyze on this. I sent this email to my professor in communication class at ABC University. So in the subject line, I include my name, the class, the section of the class, and the reason that I write this email. For the content, I address the professor by the last name. So dear Professor Sam. And I introduce myself by saying my name, my ID, my school ID number, and how I know the professor. So I'm a student in his communication 101 class, so I include that in the first line of my email. Second, I'm writing this email to request for a one-on-one meeting. So I have put that one-on-one meeting in the subject line. Now I restate it in my content so that the professor know why I write this email, and I explain to him why I need this one-on-one meeting. Um, that's it. That I already convey the message that I want him to know. And after that, I'm just saying I'm waiting for his response and thank you for his time to make a schedule for me and formally creating him and sign my name. For the bad example, um, first of all, flagging from the subject line. The subject line is all cap and it used the word urgent. With this subject line, the email have higher chance to go into the junk mailbox instead of the office of admission. Second of all, high office of admission. This is a bad example. Why? Because it addresses an organization. It doesn't address a person. Office of admission cannot answer your email, cannot read your email. The one who read and answer your email is an admission officer. So you should say, dear admission officer. For the second line, I write this email to check if you receive. Who who are you? The reaction of your recipient will be like, who are you? Why do I care about you? How do I know if I received your test score or not? So this email lacking the introduction of the sender, and it also very informal. You don't want to speak to the admission officer informally because it's rude, because they think that you are not that serious to apply to their school. And with this email, it's highly possible that you will be rejected from this school, no matter how good you are or how awesome your GPA is or how high your test score is. You are highly likely to be rejected because of the way you communicate with them. And this email is lacking formal creating formal ending and the signature. So the right one is a very, very bad email example. So there are some tips for email. The first tip is apply the 24-hour, 5 business day rule. What is this rule? It means that you need to reply to any email you receive within 24 hours of a business day. For example, if you receive an email at 10 a.m. in the morning on Monday, you should reply to it by 10 a.m. in the morning on Tuesday at the latest. If you receive an email at 4 p.m. on Friday, you will have until 4 p.m. on Monday to reply to this email. Your email should be concise and diplomatic. An email should be quick and short and deliver the message directly. But regardless of who you send this email to, make sure you keep the diplomatic tone, which means that being respectful to the recipient and refrain from saying any personal feeling or emotion, or especially any personal judgment, is very rude. You do not write a letter, so keep your email under 10 lines. There's also an exception, for example, for the situation where you need to explain more about the case, the email can be longer, but you should be aware that even if it's long, it should be within 2 to 3 or maximum 5 minutes for your reader to read all of it and understand it. So do try to be as short as you can. And what is the do for the email communication? Always respond. It's just rude if you receive the email and ignore it. You need to respond to the email. If you don't have an answer right away, it's okay. Just reply to that email within 24 hours and say that you will get back to them in the future. Give them the day and time when you get back to them. And if they send the email to you, including many people, make sure you click reply on instead of reply to one person. Resend the email after 1 to 3 business days if you don't receive an answer. Why? Because it's a high chance that your email is being mixed up or being lost in the flow of email they receive each day. So they may have missed your email somehow, some way. So if you don't receive any response within 1 to 3 business days, send them another email or resend your email to remind them that you are waiting for the answer. Always say thank you. Thank you for the time that they spend on reading your email and reply to you. And last but not least, just like a personal statement for your college application, an email should be grammatically and spelling correct. So it isn't very nice for an admission officer to read an email from you with a tons of typo or grammatically wrong. So check your grammar and spelling before you hit that send button. And that is the end of my presentation. And I just want you to know that as prep, we do make sure that our students are equipped with these communication skills before they endeavor to their college life. And not having a well-rounded application is not only the test score, it's not only the GPA, but it's also how you demonstrate yourself via the personal statement, via your activities, and how you communicate with admission officer. All of these together will make you a very prospective applicant to the admission officer. So at Spark Prep, we make sure that our students have all of these skills and be a well-rounded person going to college and learning new things. And with that, I would like to conclude my presentation. And thank you so much for your time and attention. And I will open the floor for any question that you may have.